I'm back. Okay, so as promised, we're gonna hit the homework that I put in the end of my last video. If you did it, here is your answer key. If you didn't do it, here's a spoiler, and you should probably go back and make sure that you've actually done this before you get all the answers, because it kind of defeats the purpose to already know the answers. So, here we go. We are going to start with the English to Latin, and then we're going to do the Latin to English. All right, so English to Latin, here we go. The first thing I told you is you need to decide what your verb is. And I would do this even in the English to Latin sentences, not just Latin to English. So in this first sentence up here, the farmer gives, what is our verb? What is the action of the sentence? If you said gives, you're correct. We'll label that with a V for verb, okay? Who is doing the action? This is going to be bringing you back to your basic English classes. Who is doing the action of the verb? The farmer. Okay, so we know subject. Okay, so a simple English sentence. Remember that in Latin there is no word for the. Okay, so don't rack your brain trying to come up with the word for the. It doesn't exist. So here we go. Since we know that the verb is gives, we need to figure out English vocabulary, or Latin vocabulary rather, and we need to figure out how we're going to conjugate this verb. Okay? So we need to decide a few things about our subject, because if we want to have subject-verb agreement, then we need to parse our subject. Now, the word for farmer is agricola, and since we know that agricola is going to be our subject, okay, our subjects go in what case? Say it, spit it out. Nominative. Okay, so if you said nominative, good, you're on the right track. So, agricola. We know that that is our subject, and he is doing an action. Now, tell me about agricola. Number. What number would that be? Is it singular or is it plural? One or more than one? One. One farmer, okay? Hopefully you said one. If it was plural, we'd have farmers up here, okay? So, one farmer, which means this is singular. We already know that it's nominative, okay? So, if it's singular, and we know that, then our verb is going to have to be singular, okay? Now, this is the harder question. This is the question that beginning students sometimes really struggle with. What person does our verb need to be? We know that it needs to be singular. Okay, so we know the number. All right, but we need the person. And we need to decide what agricola is. Okay? Is agricola going to be an I, a you, a he, she, it, a we, a y'all, or a they? Because that's going to tell us how to write down our Latin verb. Okay? Now, if you think back to your English, which hopefully you've gotten fairly decent English classes in your life, you might remember that he, she, it's, okay, like agricola. Agricola is a he, she, or an it, okay? It's singular, so it's gotta be just a he, she, or it. It's not a they. It can't be they. We know it's not I. That doesn't make any sense. And it wouldn't be you. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? So it's either got to be he, she, it, or it's got to be they. It can't be they. It is singular. Okay, are you with me? Am I hanging in there? All right, so we know that our verb has to be third person. It's got to be singular. We know that it's going to be present because, quite frankly, that's the only tense we know. So we have person, number, tense. Mood is going to be indicative. And voice is going to be active, because those are the only moods and voices we know. But actives, I was thinking voices and I wrote the S. Active. Okay. So that's what we know about our verb. Now let's work it out. Let's conjugate. Okay. Gives comes from do, dare, which means to give. All right. Congratulations. All right. So I'm going to do it a different way this time because I'm kind of short on space over here. So my plurals are going to be down here rather than off to the side, and my singulars are going to be up here. Okay, so we know that it's do in the first person singular because it's given to you. We find our stem by taking the RE off of the infinitive, which is your second principal part. Okay, so we know that da is going to be our stem. Okay, this is a first conjugation. It's the first verb that we did, the first verb family that we did. All right, so here we go. We're going to conjugate this baby. So we're going to have do, das, dot, damus, datis, dont. Now, what did we say we needed? Third person, singular, present, indicative, active. Okay. Which one of these forms is our third person singular? If you said dot, you are correct. If you said anything else, we have some work to do, or you have practice to do, which I'm going to give you plenty of that. So you put in the work, and I'll give you lots and lots of practice to work on, okay? So, Agricola dot. That's your sentence, okay? We're going to do something eerily similar with the next guy. And then we're going to move into the Latin to English, which might rock your world. It might not, but it rocked my world when I was starting Latin. All right. The pirate sails. Remember, there's no word for the, okay? So, we know that pirate is our subject because he is doing the action of our verb. All right. So we know that this is our verb. This is the action. Okay. This is our subject. This is the person doing the action. All right. We're going to decide about our subject. We're going to decide the person and the number of our subject. So, is this first, second, or third person? I hope you said third. Is it singular or plural? Singular. Okay. Third person singular for our subject. Which means if we have subject-verb agreement, what person and number does our verb need to be? If our subject is third person and it's singular, it's a he, she, or it, okay, third person singular, what's this guy going to be? He's got to match. So it's going to be third person singular. He's got to match. It's got to. It's got to line up. Always and forever, okay? If you do anything else, the subject and the verb aren't going to agree, and you're not going to be able to make a sentence, period, end of story. And that will ruin your Latin career. So here we go. I told you that pirata was your Latin word for pirate, okay? It is a first declension. It is masculine, by the way, because it's an occupation. And it's also one of our pain exceptions. Remember that lesson? Okay. Pirata would fit in the P category of pain. All right. You have poeta, you have pirata. These are both masculine. Masculine, masculine. That's going to matter when we get to adjectives. So just put it in your bank, hang on to it, because you're going to need it later. Now, sails comes from navigo, navigare. Okay. we get words like navigate, navigation. Okay, all right. So, first, second, third. I'm going to do first, second, third down here. This is going to be a disaster if I can't write. Plural, singular up here. All right, so here we go. We know that the first person singular is na we go. Okay, and yes, it is we go. It's not na vi go or whatever. The V's make a W sound in classical Latin. If you're learning church Latin, it's going to be different, but if you're learning church Latin, a lot of this ain't going to help you. I tried to pick apart some church Latin years ago, and I could barely read it. It barely made any sense to me. Same thing with medieval Latin. It changes so much. This is classical Latin, so it's na we go. Okay? So, na we go. Now our stem, I gave you the fundamentals for the stem. Our stem is na we ga. So we're going to do first conjugation. We're going to take our stem and plug on our endings. All right? We've done this before. We're going to do it again, and we're going to keep doing it. It's never going to go away. So just hang in there. All right? You're here for a reason. So now we gas. Now we got. In the plural, we have na, we, ga, mus. Na, we, ga, tis. Na, we, ga, mt. Okay. That's your conjugation. So we know that this is third person singular and this is third person singular. So where's our third person singular form? Right here. There it is. That's the one we need. Okay? So purita, na, we, got. Period. All right? There's your answer. Okay? Now, I said Latin doesn't have any word order. I did. I said that. And it's true. So if you want to, you can put your verb first. Typically, the stuff that comes first in the sentence in Latin is the stuff that they're trying to emphasize. Okay? So if they really want to put emphasis on something, they put it at the beginning. And the less important stuff follows. Okay? So if you really want to emphasize that the pirate is sailing, for whatever reason, you can put sails in front of your subject. You can put na we got purita. It's okay. You can do it. In fact, when you get to your more advanced Latin, you will spend all your time learning how to break all the rules that you spent 2 years learning. I promise you. Cicero is great for that. He will rid you of any attachment you had to solid rules and regulations. Now we're going to work in reverse. We're going to go from Latin to English, okay? And we're going to break our sentence down in kind of the same way. We're going to find our verb. We're going to figure out what we can about our verb in the Latin, and we're going to see what that's going to say about our subject. Okay, so here's our sentence, poeta stat. Which one of these is our verb? If you said stat, you are correct. Stat is our verb. Now, what do we know about it? What can you tell me about it? What does this T ending tell us? Person would be third, okay. Would it be singular or plural for the number? Singular, right? Right, okay. And so we have a third person, singular, present, active, indicative verb. So our subject is going to have to be a he, she, or it. Okay, it's gotta be because we have a third person, singular verb, which is a he, she, or it is doing something. Okay, if we just had this word all by itself right here, it would be he, she, or it stands. Okay? So we know that this is stands. we know that our subject has to be a he, she, or it. Well, guess what? The only other word in our sentence is a subject. That's all we've got right now because we haven't done objects yet. So, the poet, and yes, I am going to put the in the English. Don't put poet stands. That's not a correct sentence in English. Okay, I know that there's no word in Latin for the, but when you're translating it, it needs to sound like good English. If it doesn't sound good, it's probably not right. Okay, just a heads up. The poet stands. There's your sentence. Okay? You don't want to have stands the poet or whatever. You don't want to make your sentence sound like Yoda or any sort of illiterate hillbilly, okay? You want to make sure that your English sounds okay. At times it might sound a little odd in that there are words that don't translate well into English because we don't have an expression for some of the things that they did in Latin. That happens, but you're not at that point yet. So until you get to Cicero, Tacitus has to be about as evil as I can think in Latin. You don't have to worry too much about it sounding wonky. Okay. There's your homework, okay? These are all the answers to your homework. Hopefully you're kind of getting the idea on how to go backwards and forwards with the language. Go English into Latin, Latin into English. You need to get really comfortable doing both. It will help you. It will pay off hugely later on, okay? And it makes you get extremely comfortable with the application of all these rules. If you just memorize the rules and you never apply them, it's not going to do you any good. You can know the rules all day long, but if you can't apply it, what good is it? It's just a bunch of stuff to entertain people with at cocktail parties. I know what the nominative of the Latin word for... Who cares? Who cares? Okay? So, here we go. We are moving on, folks. And this is going to be somewhat quick because my kids are currently taking a bath. And they will be getting out of the bath soon. And I don't want my 3-year-old to come down naked and put on a show in front of the camera. I will not post this if my daughter is seen naked in my camera shot. So, for the protection of my daughter and my sanity, let's do third declension. We're probably only going to get to the regular third declension. I might have to save the I stems for next time. Let's just see what we can do, okay? This is where you're going to learn that I was right. You need to know your genitive singular. And this is where you're going to realize, oh, yeah, that's a big deal. Here we go. This is your first, I should probably title this so that people dropping in can understand what we're doing. Third declension. Remember that declensions are for nouns and adjectives, okay? So here we go. We are going to do the word for king, rex, regus. Okay, now, here is your come to Jesus meeting. If you get a form like regus in something you're translating, okay, and you try to look up regus in the dictionary, in a Latin to English dictionary, you are never, ever, ever going to get the right word that you want. Won't happen, okay? This genitive singular looks nothing like the nominative. So the only way to know how to work your way back to the nominative singular is to learn these first two. Okay? Learn your nominative, learn your genitive with every single noun all the time, no exceptions. Okay? I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it because if you don't do it, you are going to hate your time in Latin. You will absolutely hate it. It will be miserable. So just do the smart thing up front so that you don't suffer later on. Now, if you're interested, there is the understanding that the reason this declines the way it does, and it goes from rex to regus, is that this was actually originally regs. Okay, and if you say regs enough and you say it fast enough, it starts to sound like rex. And at some point, a scribe probably wrote it down wrong. And it just kind of caught on. Okay, changes in language happen like that. Somebody mishears something or misspeaks, and it just catches on. Okay, that's the general understanding of how this happened. We of course don't do this. We don't do regs. We do rex. Okay. So anyway, we get words like regal. Okay, regal comes from this. We get words like regent, things like that. Okay. Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of the dinosaurs. Okay. That's where we're going with this. So here we go. We need our nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Remember that your nominative and your vocative look the same. Okay. So we're not going to bother ourselves with an extra spot for the vocative. We are going to find our stem for this bad boy by taking the IS, which is your genitive singular ending, off. Okay, so your stem is going to be reg. I should probably write what it means. Well, I'll write it down here. It means king, just in case you've forgotten already. Okay? King. All right, let's see what we can do with this guy. We know that the nominative singular is going to be rex. It's given to us. Okay, so king. The genitive is given to us, regus. Okay. The dative, here we go. Here's our stem. I is our ending, regi. Okay. Reg, our stem. em is our ending for the accusative singular. By the way, this is masculine. Okay, there are masculine, feminine, and neuter in the third declension. It is a massive family, okay? It is bigger than an Irish Catholic family, okay? It's huge. So just remember that. We are going to have to hit all three genders in this, and it's one of thousands, okay? So you will see these a lot. All right, regem, reg, our stem. E is our ablative singular ending. Over here, if we wanted to do kings, plural, reg is our stem, es is our ending. Reg is our stem. The genitive plural ending is um. Okay, and that can throw you. You see that in a text, and you might be thinking, oh, that's second declension, and it's got to be an accusative. And you'd be wrong in both accounts, because it's not only not a second declension, and you're never going to find that word in the dictionary, but it's not even accusative. And it's not singular. I mean, you're just wrong all the way through. So it's something to pay attention to. I am not the meanest person you will ever meet. So try not to think of me as being your arch nemesis. My only intention is to help you. Okay. Here we're going to ride the I bus. That's what I always called it when I was teaching. We ride the I bus for the dative and the ablative plural because our ending is ebus. Okay, in our technology society, we have everything, iPads, iPhones. Now we have an I bus. Hey, she's not naked. She's actually dressed. Hi. Okay, I'm almost done, and then you can draw on my board. Okay. Can Mommy finish this really fast? Okay, so accusative plural. I gotta make this fast. Reges. And ablative plural.
Hello?
Regibus.
Hello?
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Let me finish. So, you have rex, regis, regi, regem, rege, reges, regum, regibus, reges, regibus. There is your third declension, masculine, singulars and plurals. And I will continue with third declension.
Hello?